All right, folks, welcome to Quizzing in America. This is going to be episode 7, I believe. My name's Jeremy Conman. I am your host. Every week, we are coming to you with a different pub quiz company provider from somewhere around North America. This week, I am joined by two folks from Quizzo USA, or is it Quizzo Detroit? We'll get that clarified in just a moment, but they are from Detroit. We got Jason and Mike in the chat with us. Thank you guys for both being here. Let's talk trivia. Let's talk Quizzo. How are you guys doing? And first off, clarify for me, is it known as Quizzo Detroit or Quizzo USA?
I guess Quizzo USA is a bit aspirational. We're hoping to one day take it throughout the United States, but right now we're based out of Detroit, Michigan. So I guess we're a little of both in a way, but
Fair
we're just
enough. And yeah, and so Quizzo is, I mean, Quizzo, well, at least the Quizzo Detroit that you guys are running, that's almost 20 years running, right? You guys been around for what, 17, 18 years now? Tell me a little bit about the origins of Quizzo up there in Detroit, where you started. And then I got a couple questions related to kind of the origins as well, once you give me that history.
Sure, yeah. So we just had our 17th anniversary last October. So we have been around since 2007. You know, kind of how the company got started. It was not by me, but it was by another fellow named Mike. His name is Mike Yum. He is the founder of Quizzo, and it kind of got started. He worked in the corporate field for a while, and I think was kind of ready to break out and do something on his own. And he had actually gone on a trip to the East Coast, where bar trivia out there at that time was very popular. So he kind of got a chance to see how that played, like what the scene was like out there on the East Coast, like Philadelphia area, and just kind of had the thought why couldn't I bring something like this to Detroit? Like, why can't I do this where I'm living?
I'm so glad you said that, because that leads right into what I was going to ask next is, so the term Quizzo is not something you hear a lot in the trivia world. And people that have listened to all the episodes, or at least the first episode of Quizzing in America, my first guest, and the episode just dropped a couple days before we're recording this, was Johnny Goodtimes, who is a host from Philadelphia and runs Quizzo out there. And he was giving me a little history of Quizzo. And he said, yeah, anywhere you see Quizzo, it basically has its origins in Philadelphia. So like the fact that Mike, who founded Quizzo in Detroit, went out to Philadelphia, was inspired, came back to Detroit and brought it there, makes so much sense, because Johnny was explaining there was a guy in Philly who went to Ireland, met a gal, was trying to impress, and then played trivia there and came back to Philadelphia. And then apparently the story was somebody came in the bar and said, "Hey, are you playing bingo?" And the host, being very quick on his feet, goes, "No, we're playing Quizzo." And then it became Quizzo. And somebody actually, I think, copyrighted the term Quizzo, Quizo. But then somebody else started calling it Quizzo with two Z's, and that wasn't copyrighted. So that was kind of like free game. And that's how the term Quizzo kind of got into the world of bar trivia. So I don't know if you knew that history, but according to Johnny Goodtimes, that's the history of
Yeah.
Quizzo.
And I know like the term Quizzo is very interchangeable. Like it's basically a term for pub trivia in general.
Yeah,
In a lot of places, kind of like the whole Kleenex tissue thing. Um,
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it was just definitely one of those. Yeah, like why can't we do this in Detroit? So the typical small business story. He started out of the basement in his home in suburban Detroit. At the time, he was working. Working for a bar in the area, kind of over on the east side of the Metro Detroit region, and he started doing bar trivia there. He just started doing a trivia night, and it quickly started growing in popularity. And like pretty soon he was packing the place every week. We needed his trivia night, and pretty soon after that, like other locations in the area started noticing, started hearing about this trivia game that was bringing all these people into the bar. And so other establishments started reaching out to him saying, "Hey, how do we get this in my bar? How can we be a part of this?" So it just started growing from there. It turned into a handful of locations, and then it turned into a handful more. And pretty soon Mike had to start hiring more people to to host more of the gigs and kind of help him with the internal stuff, and just kind of kept snowballing from there, and just continued to grow, and to the point that we're at today. We're in about 50 locations throughout the Metro Detroit area, in addition to doing a number of private and corporate events on a fairly consistent basis.
And then when did you come along, Mike?
So I came along, the year was 2015, if I'm remembering correctly there. Yeah, and it was interesting. I kind of, before this, I had been working in the journalism industry. I was actually working at the Detroit Free Press newspaper here in Detroit before that. And, kind of always thought like that was just what I was going to do for, if not the rest of my career, then a good chunk of it. And some stuff ended up happening with my job. I kind of got moved into a new role at the paper that I just say I wasn't necessarily thrilled with. And kind of like at the same time as that, Mike, the owner, he was looking for someone to kind of start taking over the day-to-day operations of the company, because he and his family wanted to start doing more full-time RVing and kind of traveling the country in their RV. So it was just kind of the opportunity came along. I don't think it was ever anything like I would have ever seen myself doing, like running a trivia company like this, but it seemed like a really fun opportunity. It seemed like a good challenge, and still like a lot of kind of what I learned from the journalism field, like still applied like in a lot of ways to what we were doing here, especially like with fact checking and making sure that you got all the correct information and stuff like that. So yeah, I just kind of came aboard in 2015. I kind of started running the day-to-day stuff while Mike started traveling the country in his RV with his wife and children. So,
and when you were running the day-to-day stuff, did you start like, were you doing a lot of writing of questions? Were you doing, I mean, like how all encompassing is running the day-to-day stuff? Are you just managing people at that point, or are you creating content, fact checking questions? Are you hosting as well?
I was doing all of those things at the time. Okay. The main aspect of it was the management and securing new locations, and then finding hosts to host Quizzo at those locations. That that was like say the primary focus of the role. But in addition to that, like I was also working on the creative team. Like I would, we have a team of writers here at Quizzo, but I was part of that Quizzo team. So I was writing content as well. And then in addition, I did pick up a gig hosting at a bar in Detroit called the Town Pump Tavern, which is no longer open, RIP. But like that was something too. It was important for me, kind of like since I was kind of new to all of this, like I wanted to get that host perspective of it as well, and kind of be out there in the field with everybody else, like delivering the product, and kind of seeing like how the content presents to our audience. That was something that I always really enjoyed, was like having a chance to kind of be on the creative side and help write the questions, and then seeing how those questions like go over like in front of a live audience, almost getting like real-time feedback to the content that you're producing. So I think
I find it's always great when you're creating content and writing questions, if you can get out there and also host and ask those questions, because like then you actually get to see how well do they play, and what the feedback is from the crowd, and like, maybe I could have asked this in a better way, or oh boy, that was a great question, I didn't think it was going to go over so well, and so forth. And speaking of your creative team, we have one of that creative team, and I know you do more than just create content, but I'm going to bring on a good friend of mine who I've known longer than I've been involved in the trivia world, because our days go back to when we both were, and we still kind of both do, I don't do it as much, play competitive Scrabble with each other. But Jason, welcome to Quizzing in America. And I want to talk to you a little bit about how you got involved with Quizzo, and then I want to talk to you both a little bit about just your process in coming up with content. So welcome, Jason. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks so much for having me. It's always good to talk to you, whether about trivia or baseball or Scrabble. So
yeah. So how long have you been with Quizzo now?
Yeah, so Mike mentioned that he was a journalist. That's actually how we met. We worked together. I think we would have went our separate ways in either 2012 or 2013 because I remember being on Jeopardy in October of 2013. And even though Mike was working for a rival news outlet at that time, he did make his newsroom turn on Jeopardy so he could watch me to some pushback, as the story goes. So yeah, so 2014, I think he reached out to me. He's like, "Hey, I'm working full time for this trivia company. It's called Quizzo. Like, I think we could really use someone like you. We could use good writers." So that's kind of how I got my start. That's where I met Yum. Interviewed with him to be a writer, and I was creating content solely for a while. One night I was at a bar, kind of seeing how my questions were going over. I'm talking to the host, who was a friend of mine, and I was like, I've been a game show fan for a while. Like, I've always wanted to kind of be a game show host. Like, I think I would be pretty good at this. And he's like, "All right, well, I'm doing round 3 right now. Here's round 4. I'll step aside and I'll kind of let you take the lead on it, and I'll give you some feedback." So just kind of went in cold and did it, and kind of came back every couple questions with turned my volume up a little bit because I was a little bit quieter than he was. But at the end of the round, he's like, "Yeah, you're good at this, and you should be doing this more often." So that's how I became a host. Kind of hosted right up until COVID. I remember hosting at a place in Detroit. The week before everything shut down. Kind of came back into it a little bit hosting. Post COVID, and then there was a job for a director of operations, full time gig here. I was doing the corporate thing at that time. This would have been January of 23. Interviewed for it. Still wasn't sure if I wanted it. Kind of took my name out of consideration. Obviously, they went with somebody else. That person put in his resignation a few months later. So Mike Yum, the founder, came back to me and asked if I was interested. And then at that point, the time was right because my second or third day on the job here, my company announced massive layoffs, within my department. So I could kind of, see the writing on the wall, and that, now was the right time to move here. So I've been full time with Quizzo since August of 23.
Yeah, and I think knowing you and knowing our personalities, I mean, I think it's just really a perfect fit for you, right? Because, like you said, you always like game shows. You kind of want to be a game show host. Like that's what I wanted to be growing up, right? Like I wanted to be Pat Sajak. I wanted to work with Vanna White. I wanted to host Wheel of Fortune. Then he retires, and Ryan Seacrest steals my job. But whatever. I've heard rumors that Ryan might be on the way out, so if they're looking, I'm still willing to come and.
Yeah. When I won my trip to Hawaii, I sent a postcard from Hawaii, mentioning that when Pat stepped aside, to consider me, and the
Yeah.
contestant coordinators apparently did not pass that up the chain, but
Yeah.
I'm okay with that.
So you are, I mean, you're not just a content creator. You're a Scrabble champion. You're a Jeopardy champion, a 3-day champion, if I recall correctly, and a Wheel of Fortune champion. So I mean, like your stuff, and not just when it comes to creating, but when it comes to playing as well. You're no slouch. So good on that. Now, when you guys are creating content, are there certain types of questions is there any types of questions that Quizzo is like kind of your signature question, or like you guys always have a round where it's before and after name, I don't know. There are any types of questions you just love or that you loathe and you stay away from?
I think we definitely have like a style to our questions, and we definitely have certain topics that I think our writers are tend to kind of lean towards, or like you can definitely like pick out like certain things that maybe they're fans of. Just kind of lately, we've had like this running Indiana Jones thing going on in our trivia, and really like it all kind of started because one of our writers like over the holiday break was playing the Indiana Jones video game a bunch and just got like on this Indiana Jones kick, and like just kept finding ways to like work Indiana Jones questions into the trivia, like to the point where like the players like started asking like, "What's up with all the Indiana Jones? Like, what's going on here?" So like there's some fun stuff like that, but like we definitely, I think we kind of like when we're developing our content, and like I mentioned before, like we have a team of writers and we have a creative director that kind of heads up that team. His name is Dan Sylvester, also known as Pajama Dan. So shout out to him. He does a great job with our content development, but we definitely very much have a style where like we try not to just write like a straightforward question. We try to write a question in a way where there's some kind of like hint worked into the question, or there's some kind of like a back alley way that even if you don't know like the direct answer to the question, like there's something kind of like worked in there that like, oh, like here's a hint towards, what the answer could be. So it kind of like points you in the direction of that.
Yeah, I always enjoy that because there's they call them the you either know it or you don't questions, right? Where it's like just a question where if you don't know the answer, you have no chance, and you're just going to write down anything or leave it blank, or maybe you know it and great. But I think it's much more fun when you can put some sort of little directional hint that lets when the person hears the answer, if they got it wrong, it's kind of like a head slapper, like, oh man, I should have gotten that right, or there was definitely enough in that question that I could have gotten there and I didn't. All right. So with that in mind, now explain to me exactly how the Quizzo, I think if I remember correctly, because I have played Quizzo in Detroit before, I believe it's 6 rounds plus like a handout or two is like, so tell me what's the format style? How do you score the game? And then we'll just kind of jump right in and Jason will lead me through a game, I think. So
Yeah, so 6 rounds, you got it right. 6 rounds. So we do 2 rounds, then a picture round, 2 rounds, and then, like you said, a handout, and then another 2 rounds. So there are 5 questions in each round. Each question is 1 point. Question number 3 is worth 3 points. It has multiple answers. So if there's 2 parts, one will get you 1, both will get you 3. And if there's 3 parts, just 1 point for each part. There's also a round that if you feel really good about that you can double. We don't really have a wagering aspect to the game, so that's kind of our equivalent. Is that if there's a round that you've just crushed and you've gotten all 7, check the double box and you can turn that into 14. Obviously, you want to do that on your best round. And then our two worksheets, our 2 kind of worksheet rounds, one a picture round, one not, is worth 10 points apiece. So a perfect score is 69.
oh, well, look at that. And can you double the picture round or the handout round, or are those not doubleable?
So yeah, 10 points apiece on those, and you cannot double, although I do have
Okay.
players who
And
are.
is there any sort of final wager component or final question, or is it just at the end of the 7 or whatever? It's like 69 points, whoever's
Correct.
close.
Yes. Yeah.
Gotcha.
So you do have kind of situations where teams like end around 5 or 6, knowing that they're not gonna probably not gonna get a gift card for the top 2-3 teams. Some locations that was kind of universal pre-COVID. We used to do an individual bonus question, so we'd ask a question like, how many McDonald's are in the United States? And whoever came closest would have a chance to either improve their team score, take points away from another team, or get a free drink. So that was.
Ooh, I like that. That's kind of there was a trivia company in Chicago, Liquid Courage, run by Jay Borsum, who is just a wonderful host, and
Yes.
used to do something called a Scrooby, where teams got the option to once per game, I think they could, instead of answering a question, they could screw another team where they could steal their answer. And so, it was kind of convoluted, but it was kind of neat as well. I kind of enjoyed those little things. Anyway,
Of course, Jay came up with that. I had the pleasure of a couple panels at SporkleCon, and what amazing, just totally amazing.
yeah, absolutely. All right. So with that said, why don't we play a little Quizzo? And
All right.
Jason, are you gonna host this thing for us? If you want to go into your spiel, go ahead. Or if you want to jump right
Well, I
in,
kind of went
go ahead.
into the spiel. I don't have to tell you not to cheat or not to use your phone or not to shout out answers or anything like that, since it's just you. But yeah, just going over the scoring and how that all works. So I'll ask each 5 questions. Now in a normal game, you would just write your answer number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then hand it in. So I assume for this, you could just answer, immediately after each question.
I'll answer as we go, but if you want to, we'll wait till the end to see if I'm right or not. If you want,
just depending on you answering as we go. So no, that works.
Yeah.
Out. So, all right. So our first round, this was a game that we delivered on March 4th, 2 days after the Oscars. That will be
okay.
later. So our first round is where you at. The U in quotation marks. So all of your answers are location names beginning with the letter U.
With the letter what?
U.
Okay, where are you at? All right, I like it. I'm in Uganda, man. I don't know. Let's see. We'll find out.
All right. Question number 1. What U.S. state is home to the Jazz basketball team and the Real Salt Lake soccer team?
Well, I like that you start out with a softball. That way everybody who's there playing is like, oh, I can do this. I'm in the state of Utah.
Yes, indeed.
And I like how you picked up on that too.
Yeah.
The opening
Yeah, you want to
song.
lure them in, right? You don't want
Yes.
you don't want people there playing trivia. You want to play trivia, and then you start out with like, what scientist developed this cure for, and you're like, I don't know. So yeah, you lure them in with something easy, and then obviously the game will get a little harder as we go along. But number one, Utah, you don't have to tell me I'm right on that one. I'm pretty confident.
All right. Question number 2. At what family of theme parks can you find Super Nintendo World, Minion Land, and the Wizarding World of Harry Potter?
Until you got to Wizarding World of Harry Potter, I don't know that I would have been 100% positive on this because I haven't been in these theme parks in a while. Of course, given the theme of the round, there's no doubt about it. It's Universal Studios. Universal Studios.
some
That's
of
another thing I like with themed rounds, right? Is like now you get a question like, oh, I'm not sure, but it has to start with you. So boom. All right.
And
We're two
sometimes
for
the
two.
more competitive teams will come up to me and was like, "Oh, like why'd you add the Universal Studios part? Like we had it on the first two, and we were so proud of you." Then you like gave it to to everybody. So,
But that's always the case. If you're good at trivia, you don't want the extra clues. And if you're not, or if you don't know an answer, it's like, oh yeah, give me some. Like, listen, when you ask a baseball question, I don't want you to give a lot of info because I know a lot about baseball. But most people are going to need that extra info, and that's fine. So, All right, question 3, round 1.
all right. Countries that fit the category include what Middle Eastern country home to the Burj Khalifa, what South American country wedged between Argentina and Brazil, and what landlocked country in East Africa. So 3 parts.
Well, the United Arab Emirates is where the Burj Khalifa is. Uruguay is in South America. And that landlocked African country, I believe I referenced it at the beginning of the round. I am finally in Uganda.
And you gone to get it. All right. Question number 4. What word for a certain society or community comes from the Greek words meaning know and place and was created for a 1516 book by Sir Thomas More?
So this is interesting. I mean, I don't 100% know this, but I think utopia sounds like it would be the right answer to me. So I'm going to go with utopia, and we'll hold off on telling me if I'm right there because I got to decide if I'm going to double, and I want to wait till the end of the round.
All right.
You know,
Okay. So question number 5. In what area of Michigan can you find the places called Marquette, Escanaba, and Copper Harbor?
Well, I'm not a Michigander, but I know some Michiganders, including you, and I know you guys like to talk about your Yoopers, your Upper Peninsula people. So we'll go with the Upper Peninsula.
Yes. You could have also said up north. That was not an intended correct answer, but I did have the note to accept that if anybody said it. So
Fair enough.
So yeah, so how confident are you on number 4? And are you going to?
Oh, is that the whole round? Oh,
Yes.
okay. Then yeah, I feel confident. Then as long as I only get one joker, I think I got them all. I think Utopia is probably right. So I'm gonna go ahead and joker the first round.
All right, and yeah, just kind of like our first question is usually pretty easy. I've sometimes told teams like you're usually probably not far wrong when you joker the first round, and Utopia is correct, and you did get them all. So
Okay. All right. Good.
all right, so we'll move right into round number 2. Round number 2 is out of this world answers, named that way because all of your answers will share their name with an astronomical term, I should say. So out of this world answers. Question number 1. What character debuted with his current name as Mickey Mouse's pet in the 1931 animated short, The Moose Hunt?
And I believe he debuted before the discovery of the now dwarf planet, but that would be Pluto the dog, because I think that the planet was, or the dwarf planet was named after the Disney character. I think, if I remember my history correctly. But we're going to go with Pluto.
Yes, indeed. And that's, again, that's a question where we could just ask you the name of Mickey Mouse's dog. But instead, we've kind of, included that fun little fact that, like you said, he's older than the planet, and debuted in 1931. So,
yeah.
So again, just not that, who's Mickey Mouse's pet, but we
Yeah.
also, even on a question where you're going to know it right away, like you can then tell your team, oh, funny fact, like, Pluto the dog is older than Pluto the planet.
No, it's always great to go to a trivia night and walk out learning a thing or two, even if yeah.
Absolutely. That's one of my favorite things about that. I'd say that's one of the best nights when you walk away learning something that you didn't know before.
Yeah. So SporkleCon was in Detroit. Had a bunch of people playing at our one of our Detroit locations. and I was there. A lot of 69, 69, 68, 67. I think were the top
Yeah.
scores, but everybody was having fun. And I walked around and I was like we didn't bore you, did we? And they were like, no, no, it was a lot of fun, and which is what we love to hear.
Very good. All right, let's go
All
to
right,
question
moving on to
2
question
out of
number
this world.
The Ion, View, Outlook, and Sky were all models of vehicles developed by what subsidiary of General Motors that ceased operations in 2010?
A good friend of mine in high school, his first car was a Saturn. I believe they had their assembly plant in Tennessee. Saturn.
They did.
Yes, indeed, and they did. Number 3, name these 2 Roman deities once worshipped by terrestrial beings here on Earth: the god of merchants, travelers, and transporters, and the goddess of love, beauty, and sex.
Okay,
So
so
looking for the god of merchants, travelers, and transporters, and the goddess of love, beauty, and sex, Roman.
so Venus, I believe, is the Roman goddess of love. Now, I actually didn't know this. So I think of Mercury as like the messenger god, like the Hermes equivalent, but I will assume that would make Mercury also the god of travelers. So I'm going to go with Mercury and Venus. And so yeah, we'll go with Mercury and Venus.
Okay, and since you don't have your double anymore, I can say that you got both parts correct.
All right.
Number 4, what household product makes your teeth turn green and makes your insides clean, according to a children's playground song?
What household product makes your teeth turn green and your what?
Makes your insides clean, according to a children's playground song.
Okay. Well, I don't know that I know this. Okay, so it has to share its name with a heavenly body or astronomical.
This is one of our questions.
Wow. All right. So I'm trying to think like the first things I think of are like pressed and like I don't know but now let's think of. Okay, so we got Earth. We've used Venus. We've used Mercury. We have Earth. We have Mars. We've used Saturn, we have Jupiter, we have Uranus. Other things we have are like the Kuiper Belt, we have the sun, we have the moon. Wow, children's song. This is going to be one of those things where I think I'm going to miss it and I'm going to be really mad at myself for doing that.
Do you want an optional hint?
Well, no, because I want to figure it out. But I don't. I mean, I think I might need a hint. And I don't want a hint because I want to be smart.
With an optional hint.
Is what?
It's one of the questions with an optional hint, so occasionally some of the questions have a little optional.
Well, if there's an optional hint, I'll opt in.
Okay. Cleansers are for cleaning.
Cleansers are for cleaning. Man, now I just feel even stupider. Meteor, cascade, asteroid. I want to keep saying heavenly Halley's comet. I'm going to just say comet. I'm so wrong and I don't know.
You are so right, and you do know because it is comet.
Okay. All right, see, that's the joy of trivia right there, right? Like I had no clue that I was getting that. I was like so positive I was going to be wrong on that. I don't know that children's song, by the way, but
either. So
yeah. But so again, you learn something. You're able to suss it out. So all right, beautiful. All right, let's move on.
Those hints are also really cool. Again, kind of one of the things that sets us apart is that most companies, it's like the game is the game, whether you're at a super competitive place or a place where more casual trivia players like this, we can deliver the same game, but kind of ease up a little bit, for the more casual players, and then make it more difficult by not giving any hints for the for the more competitive ones. So
yeah, no, absolutely. That's great that you're able to kind of adjust the games based on the audience. Like that's the mark of, I think, a really good pub quiz. So, good on you for that. Let's move on to, what are we on? Question 5?
Question 5, yeah, end of the round. A subsidiary of what food manufacturer is one of the leading pet care companies in the world and produces pet foods under brand names such as Pedigree and Whiskas?
Okay, I have cats. So what do I have left in terms of planets? It's not going to be Uranus. It's not going to be, oh, duh. Okay. Mars Incorporated. Yes. Okay. Yeah. Like, I'm like, like that. Yeah. That should have come to me a lot quicker, but yeah. Mars Incorporated. There you go.
All right, still got a perfect score going. So this would have been time for our picture rounds. Now, obviously, pictures don't translate well to podcasts, but we gave the picture of 10 people. Again, this was 2 days after the Oscars, so pictures of 10 actors or actresses from the red carpet at the 2025 Oscars. So I don't know if you want to maybe take a guess at some of the ones we included.
Yeah, I watch the Oscars. I'm a big movie buff. Now, let me ask you this. When you do picture rounds like this, because I've done them both ways,
Mhm.
I do them where I cut the head off and you have to identify them based solely on the outfit, or do you leave the head on and then you can actually just recognize the celebrity?
The latter, yeah. So
Okay.
there's quite a few of these where even though I'm pop culture illiterate, I was able to recognize about half of them, just from the face. So
All right.
That's
Well,
a lot of.
I will assume that on your picture round, you're going to throw in either or both of Cynthia Erivo or Ariana Grande, because both of them were fabulous on the red carpet and
we do have
both nominated.
yes, we do have both of them on there.
Okay. And I'm going to assume that you probably did both men and women on here. So, or was it all women in dresses?
Nope, it alternates, female, male,
Okay.
male, etc.
So I think that Timothy Chalamet is a very fashionable man, and I can't imagine you would do this round without putting Timothy Chalamet on there. I don't know, but
He and his yellow suit are in there, yes.
yeah. Let's see who else. Who else would I put on? Who else had a daring red carpet? Oh, I think Zoe Saldana was beautiful on the red carpet. I think she should be on there. I don't know if she was, but a nominee as well.
Did not make it somehow.
Did not make it, huh? All right. Let's see. Did you put Karen Culkin on there? That would be an interesting one.
Oh, that would have been an interesting one, but we did not.
Okay. Let's see. Oh, how about our Mikey Madison, our Best Actress winner? She had a great dress. I think the little pink and black number that she wore, if I recall correctly.
No, she also is not on here. A little
Oh.
bit. We went a little bit more mainstream with.
Okay. Let's see. Demi Moore. She had a lovely silver gown. So
Yes, that one's there.
let's see. Who else did we really like? I'm trying to think of the men who else stood out. Oh, who's Coleman Domingo, because he had that bright red jacket. And he was nominated. I don't know if you threw him on there, or of course Adrian Brody.
We did throw in Adrian Brody. We also threw in somebody with a distinctive jacket, although it was somebody else.
But not Coleman Domingo. Okay, so Jeremy Strong had kind of a gold jacket now. Oh, how about Andrew Garfield? He was wearing a cool ensemble. Wasn't nominated, but
Oh, okay. No, we did not. Not the person I'm thinking of. He is not.
Let's see. I'm trying to think of who else. I know Samuel Jackson. I remember him being in all black. Did you throw Divine on there? She was presenting, right? Huh?
Was she? No, that would have been a really hard one. Yeah.
Yeah, because she won Best Supporting Actress last year for The Leftovers or whatever. And so, all right, well, I'll tell you this. I feel really confident that you can go ahead, tell me who you put on there. I feel real confident. I probably would have gotten all of them. If at worst, I would have missed one. But tell me who you did put on there.
Okay, so it started to be more Timothy Chalamet, then Selena Gomez.
Of course, sure.
Then Jesse Eisenberg.
Okay, sure.
Fairly plain suit, but again, you're going to recognize him from the face. And then Halle Berry.
Oh, yeah, she was lovely.
Yes, and the distinctive jacket belonged to Bowen Yang. I don't know if you saw his.
Oh, well, yeah, of course, yes. Bowen Yang would have been an easy get there, especially if you don't cut off the face, So.
And then the last one, which was probably the hardest one, but I feel like you would have recognized Dave Bautista.
Of course, absolutely. And although I don't know if he was on the red carpet, but I would have loved to have seen Adam Sandler on the list. I don't know if you watched the Oscars, but he was there in his basketball best. All right. Well, I'm going to consider my game still perfect, and we're going to move on to round 4.
All right, Mike, did you have anything you wanted to say about the bonus round as well? I think you were.
Oh, I was just gonna say, like you were talking about, like doing stuff with, cutting off heads and things like that. Again, Dan is, he'll do stuff where like it removes the person's nose, or like you make their mouth, their eyes, or like some stuff like that. That kind of like gives you nightmares. We like to say like Dan is good at making nightmare fuel. Because like he'll just have some of these bonus rounds where it's like, dude, what the hell is this?
Those are the ones that kill me, because I look at pictures like that and I'm like, I know who this is. And sometimes it just throws me off. But all All right, so we are moving on to round 4. What is this one called?
All right, yeah, 31 out of 31 at the first scoring update. Round number 3 is things that simply don't exist anymore.
Okay.
Question number 1, 6 of the 7 wonders of the ancient world have either been destroyed or never truly found. The only one still standing is found in what modern country?
Well, it does exist then. I mean, you've lied to me with it. No, it's in Egypt. It'd be the pyramid is the only one that still exists. I was just actually having a conversation the other day with somebody about the 7 ancient wonders of the world. So fresh in my mind.
Yeah, I think that came up in Learned fairly recently.
Yeah,
as
and
well.
that's what spurred the conversation. Absolutely. Yeah.
All right. Question number 2. What toy store initially founded by the Kaufman brothers in 1922 went completely out of business in 2009, closing its stores and website and selling its trademark to Toys R Us?
So this is one of those perfect example of what you were saying by putting a little hint in the question to get you to the answer. I'm a child of the 80s. I spent my formative years at the shopping mall. Every shopping mall in the 80s and 90s had a KB Toys, and the Kaufman brothers are the KB of KB Toys. So KB Toys, yeah.
Initially founded. So, and I did actually say that, like, whenever we put the word initially in a question, and
Yeah.
sometimes, I remember once I was reading, I was like, why is he making, I think it was like initially founded. I was like, initially founded is redundant. Initially, like when you found something, you're first, so it must be initially. And then I read the answer. I was like, oh, that's why.
Yep. Yeah, same thing with the with Arby's is Arby's does not RB does not stand for roast beef. It stands for Raffle Brothers, who are the founders of Arby's. Just fun fact for folks out there who maybe want some tater cakes or something. All right, question 3.
Before the Detroit Pistons began playing their home games at Little Caesars Arena, their previous 2 regular homes were what 2 sports venues that have both been demolished?
Okay. So the Palace at Auburn Hills
Mhm.
is certainly one, the Malice at the Palace, of course. Now, I'm not 100% certain on the other one, but here's a fun fact for folks. Jason and I attended the very last Detroit Red Wings game at Joe Louis Arena,
I would have forgotten.
which of course is in Detroit. I'm not sure that the Pistons actually called Joe Louis Arena home, but I don't have a better answer, so I'm going to go with Joe Louis Arena.
Oh, there goes the perfect game. You were close. You were on the right track, though. They actually used to play at the Pontiac Silverdome, former home of the Detroit Lions.
Oh, I did not know that. Yeah, that's something where maybe a little home court advantage, yeah, for the folks from Detroit might have. Boy, that's fun. That's a huge place for a basketball team to play the Pontiac Silverdome.
Cut it in half and have like the court just like in a corner of the field. It was very strange looking. Like it
Yeah.
didn't belong there at all. But there they were.
I'm gonna have to work that into a trivia. I like that as a trivia question, just as a fun fact. Wow, I did not know that. All right, perfect game. Away. No more.
We did have a team who played, on the Thursday. I spoke to them afterwards. They got in early. They also played on the Wednesday as well, and they were like perfect except for the roundabout Michigan where they got 2 out of 7, and that cost them. So yeah, you can see, again, being based in Detroit and all of our venues being in Southeast Michigan.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Work in some local flavor. I like it. And listen, I could have gotten there. I wasn't going to go away from
You're on the
Joe.
right track in terms of arenas that have been demolished that
Yeah.
that the teams could have played
And
at.
the Pistons have played a handful of games, or did play a handful of games at Joe Louis Arena.
But it just wasn't their home arena. It was just like
Yeah. The hint for that one was it was a shock. You're referring to how the Detroit Shock WNBA also played out of the Palace of Auburn Hills. It was a shock
Yeah.
when they used demolition vehicles on both. Because
Yeah.
Pontiac Dome with had demolition derby stuff. So
Oh, is that still existing, the building for Joe Louis, or no?
no, Joe
Okay.
Louis demolished as well.
Okay. All right, let's go on to question number. What are we on? Question number 4, right?
Yep. The most popular theory of how humans got to North America is around 20,000 years ago, humans walked out of Asia to Alaska via a land bridge that covered what modern day strait?
That'd be the Bering Strait.
Indeed. And question number 5, what rap metal band that would frequently testify that they're sorry for inspiring new metal spent 2020 through 2023 postponing their Detroit concerts, then broke up in 2024?
Read the first part of that again for me.
What rap metal band that would frequently testify that they're sorry for inspiring new metal spent 2020 through 2023 postponing their Detroit concerts, then broke up
Okay.
in 24?
So Testify, I think, and so I'm a huge 80s hard rock metal hair band. So like the new metal is like one generation removed from that. So I'm not as good at that. But I think, and obviously Testify is totally a clue in there. POD that's the band that comes to mind when I hear Testify. So I hope that's right. I'm gonna go POD.
Rage Against the Machine.
Oh, all right. All right. Well, so the
So that's
perfect game is now down 2.
round, yeah. 4 out of
That's
7.
okay. You know what I always say, you don't want any teams to be perfect, and you don't want any teams to miss everything, right? Like you want there to be some challenge for even the best teams, and you want the worst teams to even be able to get a handful of stuff as well. So I don't feel too bad. I don't feel too much shame. A little bit of shame, but should have gotten Rage Against.
Yeah, our creative director likes to say if they consistently get a 44, they ain't going to come back for more. So,
Yeah.
so like I said, just a shorter version of what you said. So, round number 4 is road trip.
Oh, I love a road trip. Let's go.
Let's go. Running a total length of 1,786 miles, a chunk of what major highway is also the longest highway in Michigan, covering almost 400 miles within the state?
I believe Interstate 90 is the longest highway, you said, right?
No, just the longest highway in Michigan.
Oh, longest highway in Michigan. Okay.
Yes, I can read it again for you if you want to.
Okay. So longest highway, I think, is I-90, but I don't think that hits Michigan. So now the question is it 94? Because I know that hits Michigan. And I mean, that obviously comes to Chicago.
Total length of 1,786 miles, covers almost 400 miles within the state.
Okay.
If you need it again.
How about Interstate 75? I don't like 94. I'm going to go with Interstate 75. I think that's...
You picked the right.
Okay.
You picked the right. I-94, I don't know how long it is total, but it covers, since it's east-west, it only covers about 230 some, I think 234.
Yeah,
is
I
the
didn't think it
terminus
was
at
long enough in
Port
Michigan
Huron.
to be the right answer. So I'm like, what other interstates are there that, yeah. All righty. Let's go with question 2.
Question. What party of pioneers tried to take a road trip from Illinois to California in 1846 by wagon before getting stranded in the Sierra Nevada mountains in winter without real food?
That would be the ill-fated Donner Party.
And also have a note to accept Donner Reed Party as well. But even though
Yeah.
everybody knows it as the Donner. All right, very curious how you'll do on this one. Question number 3, 3 parts. Name any 3 of the 6 roads that lead to Detroit and make up the so-called spokes of Detroit's wheel-shaped layout.
So the 6 roads that lead to Detroit and make up what?
The so-called spokes, quote unquote, of Detroit's wheel-shaped layout.
Okay. So I think there is a Woodward Avenue, I think. So I'm pretty sure that's a pretty prominent road in Detroit. So I'm definitely going to say Woodward Avenue. I'm trying to think of, I'm going to go with Michigan Avenue because, like we have a prominent Michigan Avenue in Chicago, and why would you not have one in Detroit? And why would it not be a big one? And I'm trying to think, there was a road that was like it was like Grand something. And I don't think it was Grand Rapids, which obviously is a city. So I'm going to go with Detroit, or I'm sorry, not Detroit. I'm going to go with Woodward Avenue. I'm going to go with Michigan Avenue, and I'm going to go with Grand River, I think was the name of the road I'm trying to think of. I have no idea if this is like the spokes or the main roads, but those are like 3 roads that I'm fairly confident are in Michigan and in Detroit. So
Yes, and you actually got them all. I didn't think you were going to get Grand River, so I just wondered. I know you've been here a few times. I was like, I wonder if he's been here enough to kind of name like the 3 roads that he remembers, and because those will probably.
Well, Woodward is just such a famous, like I think the Fox Theater is on Woodward. Like that's like a big road in Detroit. And then I knew there was a Michigan Avenue. Yeah. So
Yeah, so you could have said Woodward Avenue, Fort Street, which you probably wouldn't have experienced much. Michigan Avenue, yes, its terminus is in downtown in Campus Martius. I don't remember if you've been there, if we've been there, but it then stretches, throughout, basically all of Michigan to the Indiana state line. Similar route to I-94.
okay.
And then you came up with Grand River, Jefferson Avenue, and then Gratiot. I think you might have stayed near Gratiot Avenue, so I don't know if.
Yes, yeah, that sounds familiar. And Jefferson is one of those that, like, I mean, I could have guessed there was a Jefferson Avenue. I wouldn't have known it was one of those 6 streets, though. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one that kind of goes along, kind of along the river there. So, all right, number 4, the cult classic 2000 film Road Trip was the directorial debut of what director who has since directed the Hangover film series and the Joaquin Phoenix Joker films?
That'd be Mr. Phillips.
Mr. Todd Phillips, yes.
Yeah.
And question number 5, some Michigan highways and byways ask you to drive at what speed? Unless you're Sammy Hagar, because he refuses to drive that speed, he just can't, according to a 1984 song.
Well, thank you for working in a little Sammy Hagar, some hard rock from the 80s. I can't drive 55 miles per hour. That's my favorite question of the set, by the way, because it lets me be a little rock and roll. I like it.
There you go. All right, so round number 2 is our worksheet round. This is usually a matching round. So for example, a couple we've had recently are, 10 cartoon cat or 10 TV cats on the left side and 10 TV shows on the right, and you have to match the cat with the show. I did that with dogs. But we're kind of starting to branch out a little bit, and this is a fun kind of variation on what we're doing. So at the top it says, "Holy villainous answer, Batman. Name the word/term being defined, but using only the name of a Batman villain." So I'll kind of give you a
like this.
definition
All right.
or prompt.
Yeah, I like this.
We've been doing it a lot with songs.
Yeah. This is right up my alley. 1, because I love comic books and Batman, and 2, because I like this kind of wordplay type stuff. So lay it on me there, Commissioner Gordon. Give me number 1.
All right. No, before I do that, I just want to say that, so I was playing along with one recently, and Mike was sitting next to me. So it was, you had to answer using words in the Star Spangled Banner. And one of the prompts was, $0.00. And it took me an embarrassingly long amount of time to figure out that was free.
Yeah. Yeah.
On like the 5th time I sang the song to myself, I was like, "Oh, free," as in $0.
Yeah. Yeah. Sure. No, but that's great. I like it. All right, let's go with number 1 here.
Number 1, only the name of a Batman villain. Playing card used in Canasta and Crazy Eights, introduced in Euchre decks.
That'd be the Joker.
Human resembling structure that frightens birds away from crops.
That'd be your Scarecrow.
Subject of the rhyme, "Leaves of 3, let it be."
Poison Ivy. Shout out to the rock band Poison, greatest band of all time. Okay, let's move on.
An aquatic flightless bird such as Chinstrap.
We got our Penguin here.
Famous nickname for gangster Al Capone.
He would be Scarface. That's a lesser known Batman villain, though. I like that.
Yep, starting to get into, some of the more obscure ones. Lightning Bug.
Firefly, another lesser known Batman villain, but a good one.
Has wonderful parties with the March Hare and the Dormouse.
That'd be your Mad Hatter.
Something that causes great pain, source of severe harm.
Ooh, something that causes great pain, source of severe harm. Oh, is that just Bane?
It is just
Bane. Yeah. Okay. That's good. Got that with the Batman villains. So more than the clue on that one.
Yep. Okay, so number 9, 1998 Gwyneth Paltrow film, semicolon, Detroit rapper, semicolon, Westland, Michigan haunted house. So it's basically 3 different ones, but you can use the same word for all of them.
1998 Gwyneth Paltrow film.
Yep. Detroit rapper.
Detroit rapper.
And Westland, Michigan haunted house.
Okay. So Detroit rapper, of course, the first thing you think of is Eminem, but I don't think that is a Batman villain. So now I'm trying to think Gwyneth Paltrow, 1998 film. So that's right after Shakespeare in Love. What did she do? Oh, that's a good one. I did not know this rapper and I didn't know this haunted house, but there is a Batman villain called Hush. And there's a Gwyneth Paltrow film called Hush. That's a deep cut right there for Batman villain. That's a good one. And I got to tell you,
that was the harder one.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
And number 10, nursery rhyme character who was born on a Monday, christened on Tuesday, married on Wednesday, took ill on Thursday, worse on Friday, died on Saturday, buried on Sunday.
That'd be Solomon Grundy.
Well done. So yeah, sometimes those take a little bit, especially like when you're asking for words to a song, like you got to sing the song like 5 different times, writing lyrics. But those are becoming more popular and a nice kind of change of pace from just doing the matching
Yeah,
thing.
those are fun rounds. I like them. I did a round similar to that with Paul Paquette, who was on episode 3 or 4. It was he gave they were all definitions, and you had to name what he was like describing, and then in the end, he didn't tell you this. I think it was like you had to find the connection. They all ended up being like ways to describe titles of Best Picture winning films. So it was a clever round. Anyway,
Lots
let's
to
move
remember.
on. What are we on? Round 5?
Yep, round 5. Round number 5 is the Hunger Games. Question number 1: Princess Lolly, Queen Frostine, and Lord Licorice are all characters from what board game?
That would be Candyland.
What classic and alliterative board game involves large land animals frantically chomping down on plastic marbles?
They would be Hungry Hippos.
Did you say they made like a human version of that? I think it was in Canada.
Yes, I did see a video of somebody. Yeah, they created like a live Hungry. It was very interesting. All right, what is our double point question in this round?
All right, for 1 point apiece, what mascots for Cheetos, Domino's Pizza, and 7 Up all had their own video games in the 1990s?
Okay, so Chester Cheeto is the mascot, the Noid from Domino's, and what was the third product?
7 Up.
The Dots, I think just called the Dots, right? I'm gonna go with the dot. Is there a name for the Dots? I don't know that there is. I'm gonna go with the Dots. I don't know.
I would give this to you or not. It's called Cool Spot or just Spot. I don't know if I would give you Dot.
Oh, yeah, no,
uh,
that's fine. I'll ding myself there. I'm 3 down from perfect, going for 66 now.
What kids game that involves tossing a certain vegetable to another person is also a popular song sung by the Australian group The Wiggles?
That'd be Hot Potato.
And a short-lived Bill Cullen 80s game show. I don't know if
Yeah.
you've ever seen Hot Potato.
I vaguely remember it, but yes.
And number 5, since the round is the Hunger Games, we might as well include an actual question about the Hunger Games. What is the title of the forthcoming second prequel to the Hunger Games, due to come out in March, with a film version already announced for next year?
Okay, so I'm trying to think. I know this because I've read about it. Hunger Games prequel. Oh boy, Oh boy, it was something with arrows was the first prequel. I'm trying to think of what the other one was. I don't know if I'm going to get this. It was Songbirds and Snakes was the first one, not arrows. Songbirds and Snakes. Oh, it was. Is it The Reaping? Just The Reaping? No, it's something more to that. I'm not going to get it, but I'm going to say.
If I gave you the hint, then you would have gotten it. So the hint is sunrise something something something.
Oh, yeah, Sunrise on the Reaping. That's what it is, right?
All right.
Yeah. No, I wouldn't have gotten there certainly without the hint, but you know.
Okay. Well then I'll grade you harshly on that one too.
Yeah.
And give you a 5. So I thought, hang on, 52. Yeah. So 5, 57. Okay. And our last round, what the future holds. Number 1, the next Winter Olympic Games are commonly referred to as Milano Cortina 2026 and will be held in which country?
They're going to be in Italy, I believe.
Yeah, one of those where we, maybe just could have said the next Winter Olympic Games,
Sure.
Which country. Number 2, Halloween 2025 will fall on which day of the week this year?
2025 Halloween, you said?
Yes.
Okay, now I'm trying to remember what day of the week it was last year. Where was I on Halloween? I believe it was a Thursday last year, which means, yeah, because I played trivia on Halloween on a Thursday night at DMK Burger Bar in Chicago, which means there was no leap year this year. It's going to be Friday.
Well reasoned.
Yeah.
Number 3, Marvel released their first film of 2025 in February. What other 2 MCU movies are being released this year? In May and July, one featuring a team of reformed villains, one with a family of 3 plus a friend.
Okay, so the Fantastic Four is 100% one of them, and the other one is, I believe it's called the Thunderbolts. Yeah.
Yes.
The Thunderbolts and Fantastic Four.
Fantastic Four First Steps, the full title, but I would have given you just Fantastic Four. In about 1,000 years after Earth's axis continues to shift, the stellar object called Gamma Cephei, that's Cephea, will have what nickname that Polaris has now?
Polaris has now?
Yes.
So is Polaris Alpha Centauri? That's what I'm trying to think of. I think that might be what you're going for here. Oh, no, duh. It's the North Star. Okay.
Yeah.
I was trying to be smarter than the question there because obviously, yeah, okay.
Yes.
Sometimes don't outthink yourself. Okay.
Yep.
North
The
Star.
axis will shift. The axis will shift, and Gamma Cephei A will become the new North Star. I don't think any of us will be around for it, but that is
Now
what the
that's a
future-
fun question, by the way. Not as fun as Sammy Hagar, but you know.
right, or Poison Ivy. But and question number 5. I know that you're not an NFL fan, but when next year's Super Bowl happens in February 2026, what number will it be?
Well, I'm not a Super Bowl fan, but this is the second time in one of these episodes we've had a number of a Super Bowl question come up. And I will say this, I used to be a Super Bowl fan, and I'm also from Chicago. And everybody knows that 1986, the Chicago Bears won the Super Bowl in January of 86. That was Super Bowl 20, the greatest Super Bowl ever played by the greatest team ever created. And seeing as how that will be the 40th anniversary of Super Bowl 20, a little quick math tells me 20 plus 40 is Super Bowl 60 or Super Bowl L.
Yes, either one acceptable. So and you know, like I always tell people, the only thing to dislike about you is your taste in sports teams, and you just proved it again with your answer to that question.
I mean, listen, I don't watch football anymore. I had no interest in the NFL this year at all. However, had Detroit made it to the Super Bowl, I would have 100% been watching the Super Bowl and pulling for Detroit. Of course, I also wanted Buffalo to be there because then no matter who won, everybody was. I mean, one of those two cities was going to be disappointed, but the rest of the world would have been thrilled for either of those teams, I think, to win a Super Bowl. I would love a Detroit Lions, Buffalo Bills Super Bowl 60 matchup.
People were predicting a Lions-Bills Super Bowl. I was like, do you not understand how life works? I mean, I guess we did get an Indians-Cubs World Series, so that would kind of, you know, undercut my argument. And I remember, that watching that Game 7, and there was like weather, and I was like, they're not going to finish this till November. It's like the universe has to end before one of these.
And then the Cubs won the World Series, and the world has fallen apart since. So that's why you don't let the Cubs win the World Series, people. That's the lesson that we should take away from that. So maybe Detroit should never win a Super Bowl. Sorry to say, because the Cubs winning the World Series, the world went to hell. All righty. Well, I'll tell you what.
That makes me scared to think.
That about wraps it up. What did I end up with? 65? Is that 4 points off of perfect, I think? All right. I can accept that. 65, I'm generally going to be in the money at most places, right? I'm generally walking away with a gift card at 65. Yeah.
Absolutely, almost certainly. Not at my venue is very competitive, so maybe not at my venue, but just about everywhere. Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm gonna hold you to that next time I come to Detroit. I expect my gift card. Thank you both for joining me, Mike and Jason. It's been a pleasure. If folks want to check out, if they're in Detroit and they want to check out Quizzo, it's QuizzoUSA.com, right? That's the website.
Yeah, so our emails are actually QuizzoUSA.com, but our website is QuizzoDetroit.com. If you go to QuizzoUSA, it'll read.
Either one.
QuizzoDetroit.com, and I'll obviously post links in the show notes. And obviously, if you got a company out there and you're in Detroit, or even if you're not, you guys are willing to travel and do things other places. They run a great game. It's a lot of fun, and I enjoyed playing it. Thank you for coming on and talking to me. If there's anybody you want to say goodbye to, or now would be the time. No, we're good.
No, just thank you. Thank you for having us.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, it was great to have you both here. Again, thanks for being here. Thank you guys out there for listening. We'll be back next week with another episode, another company somewhere around America. We'll play another pub quiz game. One of these days, I'm going to start having folks come on and join me and play with me so I don't miss those 4 questions. Somebody can tell me the name of the Hunger Games prequel, or, I'm proud of Comet. That's my biggest get in this quiz. Anyway, that's all she wrote, folks. I'm going to stop this recording.